June 6, 2006 was supposed to be a day of disaster, and in the heart of downtown Rouse's Point, it kind of looks like it is a disaster. Of course, today's date is 666, and that's the so-called number of the beast, the devil. And a lot of silliness has been bandied about. There's reporters looking for something to write about have talked about 666 and all the things that are going on this day, but a very serious matter happened overnight in the community of Rouse's Point. A former Holland hotel, or Hotel Holland, we've heard it called both ways, has burnt and is in such a state that they're going to have to tear it down very shortly. We're taping this at 10:10 in the morning. Our intent is to get it on today's program following the firefighters banquet that we covered a month ago. But what we've been told from reporter Suzanne Moore from the Press Republican is that the road here is blocked off as we approached here, and my wife Judy, who works at Wyeth, had called to tell me that the road at the Masons Corners intersection, where Route 11 intersects with Route 276 that goes up to Northeastern Clinton Central School, and also with the Mason Road. At that intersection, the road is blocked and traffic is detoured. And from what Shan Moore has told me, the reason that the traffic has been detoured is because they're afraid that just the trucks driving by, the vibration of the heavy vehicles, could cause some of these walls to collapse. So they are detouring traffic around here. My guess is that sometime in the afternoon hours, if not sooner than that, demolition of this building will commence. The building, as many of us recall it, as the Hotel Holland, was owned by the Gilsons. And of course, Dick Letourneau, the son of Mrs. Gilson, ran it and was a popular figure here. And actually, Dick was a former mayor in the village of Rouse's Point. And this was a popular place to stop and have a meal, just to visit with Dick Letourneau and his family. And for many years, I would suspect that when the railroads were booming, that this was a popular hotel for travelers, and particularly people who worked on the railroad. Hank Gilson, who married the widow Letourneau, was from the Whitehall area, and Whitehall, as many people know, is down the road on the D&H, and a lot of people would commute back and forth from Whitehall to Rouse's Point. So this, I believe, the heyday of the Hotel Holland was during the heyday of the railroad, but a lot of people did end up getting apartments here. We see firefighter Jason Juno standing alongside of us here. Were you on the scene all day during the night, Jason?
Yeah. Right when it first went out, a little bit after 2 o'clock.
So that's when the fire alarm sounded at 2?
Yeah. About 2:04 actual time.
Was it fully engulfed at that time?
When I drove by to the station, the flames and smoke were rolling out the top floor.
Any idea what part of the building it started at this point?
About the center, somewhere in the center, up to towards the top. Don't know exactly. The investigators are inside right now.
Fire investigators trying to determine the cause.
Yeah, they came up from Albany. They got a K9 unit and everything. They're going to be checking it out.
Okay, now, as far as I know, WWBI was still operating out of there. Is that your understanding?
No, the county had taken over the building because they weren't being paid for.
Oh,
They still had equipment in there, though.
There's still equipment from radio station channel 27, WWBI. So the county had foreclosed of her taxes?
Yes.
That's your understanding?
Yeah, we found that out this morning. And they're trying to find out where the bill's going to go to as far as tearing it down. And that's what's being determined right now, what they want to do with it, because they don't know if it's going to be safe with tractor trailers running down Lake Street, rumbling, causing things to loosen up or collapse. So we're probably going to block off the street right around here, this whole corner, and just send the trucks around the 276 truck route.
Did you have any idea how many local fire departments responded to mutual aid?
12
departments. So you had, of course, you get help out of here in Rouse's Point. You get help out of Alberg and out of St. Paul and Quebec.
St. Paul, Lacole. I think Hemingford was on standby. We got South Plattsburgh, District 3, Chazy, Moores, West Chazy. There's like
maybe Champlain.
Yeah, Champlain. Yeah, yeah. They were second here.
Who did Alberg come over to?
Yes.
Maybe, how about Isle of Mont? Sometimes
No. Not to my knowledge.
A lot of people are aware of it, but not everyone. Is that Canada and this area in Vermont, they're all part of the Clinton County Mutual Aid System, and we go there to help them, and they come here to help us.
That is true.
What is your title, Jason, in the fire department?
Second lieutenant.
Okay, it's just everything is out now. All the flame is out, I assume.
Yes, there's a couple little hot spots. If you look on the south side, you can see a little bit of smoke puffing, and there was some in the front. We might be here all day, or we might have to come back, one or the other. Hopefully we get the excavator here, as soon as possible, or something can happen soon where we can get to it, those hot spots, so we don't have to be here for another night.
Now, in a situation like this, the fire department is in control, not the owner, correct?
Correct.
So if the fire department determines that it has to be knocked down, then it gets knocked down.
I guess there's some law in the village that they're having a special meeting at 11:30 today to determine it has to be approved through the village to knock it down. I wasn't quite clear on what George was saying about it, but they're having a special meeting in order to try and do that. But I think that if they really wanted to, they can, supersede it with safety reasons.
Yeah, if there's imminent danger, you'll have to go from there. So the problem right now is who's the owner, right? That appears to be.
As I know, it's Clinton County right now, from what I understand. It's mostly this turret area where the stairwell is and that chimney that they're worried about collapsing. That comes down, it's going to go right across the street.
Yeah, the debris could fly several hundred feet.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, who is the fire chief currently?
Brian Pelkey.
Oh, there he is. He's also your boss.
Yes.
So he's well aware that you are here.
Yes.
That you are on fireman's time when you village employees.
I'm working right now. Don't put that on there.
Okay. No. Nothing that you say. No, the village. You're a village employee, and Brian is the village supervisor of public works. And you wear two hats here. You're also in the fire department, and also the fact that this is in the village is a problem for the public works department also. So actually you can be here with two hats working for the
I was here as line crew because that's what my department is, and we had to kill the power to the building and reroute it because it feeds underneath the ground, goes up there where that pole is, and then feeds down towards Sportsman's. And it also feeds down around Route 2 and back. And we have it isolated, and where we took it and we sent it back this way, and it's dead from here over to this switch right next to your camera.
Okay, so Delagar was unaffected, or
they were this morning until we got everything under control. We could get up there and fix it and reroute the power because we had to have that power killed from down there to here.
Right. No damage to nearby structures. That is always a fear.
No, the fire did start breaking out on that north side a little bit, but we had a hose and to keep it cool, and there was no other, mostly smoke damage. It went down as far almost to Rose Avenue.
Smoke?
Yeah, there's some people that live rough next to Sunmount. They had ashes on their car.
Wow.
So I imagine the boats in the boatyard are pretty well covered.
But there wasn't, of course I was sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, but there wasn't much wind, was there?
A little bit. Not enough, a little bit of breeze, just enough we could see it, traveling north. If it would have been stronger, we would have lost all those.
Good wind, yes. Yeah, you got wood structures next door, with shingles on the roof right next door. That would not be good. All right, Jason, we appreciate you taking time to talk.
You're welcome, Calvin.
So there we have it. We wanted to get a little bit of coverage of this. I'm not sure if time will allow me. I've got a lot of things to catch up on this time of the year. But if I can get back here in the afternoon, I would probably come down to look at some of the deconstruction that will be taking place. I am doing well, thank you. This, as we said, was a popular spot for many years. And the owner, Dick Letourneau, the previous owner, the previous owner, I guess now, because I was unaware that Channel 27 was not operating out of here anymore. But Dick Letourneau, a distant cousin of mine and a very good friend, so I did spend many hours here chatting with Dick and enjoying his company, and as did a lot of people who came to Rouse's Point. So it's another landmark. We've seen a lot of our downtown landmarks within the town of Champlain get destroyed by fire over the years. The Saxony Hotel a number of years back. That was followed, of course, by the Anchorage burning. The Anchorage has been rebuilt. The Saxony wasn't completely destroyed. Part of it is still standing. And of course, in the very recent times, a Champlain Hotel in downtown Champlain and the Savoy in Champlain were totally consumed by fires. So a lot of the links to our past are disappearing. And this is another example, and chances are in the very near future this will be a vacant lot here, and a prime vacant lot right at the intersection of State and Lake Street. Also, the State is to my left, and it becomes Montgomery Street and goes on down by the lake. And this is an area that's going to be impacted heavily by the downtown beautification that is taking place in Rouse's Point. This area heading down to Lake Street into a new access to the lake, and a new little pier out there where people can gather, and a walkway along the lake. So this intersection, a very crucial intersection for the future of Rouse's Point. And chances are the property will be changing hands, and you have to speculate on what could come here and prosper on this corner. Downtowns aren't necessarily prospering, but it'll be an opportunity for someone to have a prime location in downtown Rouse's Point, right in the middle of a beautification era. So that's it. Again, we just wanted to get on a little bit of this. We had a lot of things to do. We learned about this fire about maybe a few minutes before 7 this morning, when we first heard about it on the local television news. We heard it on Channel 5 first, and a few minutes after that, we heard it on Channel 3. A little more details on it on Channel 3. But it took us about 3 hours before we could get caught up enough to be able to come down here and cover this. So that's what it looks like. It's 10:25 on June 6th, 2006, in the heart of downtown Rouse's Point. We should point out that there's Jason Juneau in the center of the picture, the one we were talking to, is second lieutenant here in the fire department. And there was a small gathering of people, including reporter Suzanne Moore from the Press Republican, who's trying to get all this into perspective. She's talking to the police department right now, current Chief Robert Craig and Tommy Laundrie, the patrolman. All right, we were about to take off, but as we turned, we found another familiar face, so decided to impose on him. What is your title with the county, Chris Trombley?
Deputy Fire Coordinator for this area.
Okay, so you got on the scene bright and early, or so to speak. Obviously, it wasn't very bright at 2 o'clock in the morning, except for the flames. But
Well, the flames made it bright, but actually it was shortly after 2 or thereabouts, and was called here as automatic mutual aid took place for Ross's Point, and of course they were already on here and on the scene, and talked to Brian Pelkey and the officers, and came up with a game plan and see how we could support that game plan.
now, who, as a county coordinator, does the local department still run the site, or does the county take over? How does that work when someone like yourself is called in as a county coordinator?
Basically, this here to assist the fire chief. It's still their scene. New York State is what they call a home rule state. In other words, anything that happens, it's still within the jurisdiction. In this case, Ross's Point. So the fire chief's always in charge, whether it be a fire like this or a hazmat or anything. We're just here to assist as a resource for water supply, things of that nature. And on George Rivers, Martin Bayshard did it for years, and basically just there as an aid to the chief.
Okay, now you also have a position in the Champlain Fire Department?
Yeah, chief in Champlain Fire Department, and works out well. Just took over after Bruce Barcombe, who was not feeling well right now, but took over after him, and we change that chief's job every once in a while because it's a lot of work.
Now, do you automatically wear the county coordinator hat every time you attend a fire, or are you sometimes there just as the Champlain chief?
It depends. Most of the time, if I'm paged out to cover my area, I cover certain areas of Vermont, Canada, and a corner of Clinton County. If I'm called out as a deputy coordinator, that's the hat I wear. If it's a Champlain fire and I need assistance, I call in a deputy coordinator. It all depends on the situation. Something like what happened here today, everybody gets to do something.
Now, I heard you talking to Woody Kissel that you ran lines right from the lake. We're not too far from Lake Champlain here.
Yeah, we went up. Basically, Ross Point started attacking the fire on their hydrogen system, which is probably one of the best in the whole area. And the decision was made, of course, in their pre-planning to run lines to support that system from Lake Champlain. And we ran 3 what we call large diameter lines, 5-inch lines to the fire trucks on the scene. And those lines were supplied at the lake by one of the Champlain trucks, one of the older trucks, Islamont, Alberg, and Morris Fire Department, and they were what we call the fill pumpers, and they ran they supplied water to the fire.
So what do? They set up on the near the shore. They suck it out of the lake and then pump it.
basically that's just it. They suck it out of the lake, put a couple lines in the lake, and the volume that's created or the pressure that's created from the lake water is then pumped upstream. In this case, we're lucky; it was only about 500 or 600 feet, maybe 800 at the most, to the fire, and it gives that pumper or that ladder truck on the fire scene the adequate resources, water resources to get the job done.
What would be the maximum that you might consider pumping directly from a site such as the lake?
Well, at one point the one pumper was pumping up to 2,000 gallons a minute, which is our largest capacity pump, and they were pumping actually just over 2,000 gallons a minute at one time. Then you start multiplying that, plus the other trucks are around 1,500. I can't tell you the exact water flow. I can tell you pressures, but I don't know how much. I don't know for sure how many gallons we used here, but it was quite a bit.
Now, does it flow directly? Doesn't go into a tank, then into the out? How does it go?
No, it basically goes it goes in from the lake into the pumper. The pumper creates pressure, puts it in the 5-inch or large diameter line into the next truck. So it actually does go right. It just kind of passes through the pump. It doesn't actually go in the tank, but the tanks are always filled on the trucks, just in case we lose that water source momentarily.
Now, how about debris when you're pumping from something like the lake? Obviously, there could be minnows in there. There could be all kinds of weeds or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a problem when you're pumping from any water source like that. Luckily, Lake Champlain in this corner anyway is pretty clean. We did have a little problem with the waves. The waves were picking up at one point, but if the waves pick up and it creates a little bit of an air pocket, that could mean trouble. But once you usually get a prime, you're in pretty good shape, and you can run for hours, depending on if the truck runs. And as long as there's gas in the truck and the pump's running good, you can run for hours like that. But yes, there is times where you get some debris, but we have strainers at the line, so it doesn't do any damage to the pump.
But they occasionally clog up with those strainers, I imagine?
Yeah, they will clog up if you get a lot of weeds and things of that nature. Luckily today, everything went very, very well.
Now, the inspectors here are from Albany?
Yes, this is State Fire out of Albany. They have State Fire basically sends up resources upon request. They don't come up for every fire, but the larger scale fires, there's a criteria that they come up for. If it's the property's worth so much over a certain dollar amount, or if there's other cases, if it's state property, there's a pretty tight criteria that they call. But they have resources like dogs, if you will, that detect some type of accelerants if accelerants are used, and they have a lot of good knowledge and cameras and all this kind of good stuff. And these are the experts, and they kind of back up, if you will. They don't take over, but they back up our county investigative team.
So the county also has investigators on the site, or?
Yes, the ultimate decision or the ultimate cause of the fire is really left up to the fire chief. He or she, but usually he has to determine the cause of the fire. Now, he doesn't have to call investigators, but at the end of the day, it's still his responsibility to come up with the cause. So these are just resources. So at the end of the day, the chief's always in charge, and the chief has to find out the cause. But in a fire like this, I mean, we have so much. It's not, the resources really don't hurt to have them up here.
Now, this could have been much more disastrous. Probably the one that comes to mind in the region most recently was Enosburg about a year or so ago, that a lot of downtown burnt. This could have been very disastrous, but fortunately just one structure went. Yeah,
just one structure. Ross Point did an excellent job keeping it back, and I believe Enosburg had some problems recently, and Swanton had some problems recently. Our Swanton had a fire many years ago that was very destructive.
Yeah, leveled a lot. Well, of course, in Champlain's had a couple that leveled.
Yeah,
big
Champlain's had a few, and luckily with this one, this was one scenario where the building was so close to the other buildings that it could have been very disastrous, but there was a lot of things going in our favor, including weather, water supply, just plain good knowledge from the fire department, and they had a pretty good pre-plan.
How was it discovered? A passerby, or do you know?
I really don't know. I'm not sure. I know the investigators have all that documented as far as who called in, things of that nature. So.
Okay, and my understanding that it looks like the building will be torn down probably as soon as this afternoon. That what it looks like it's going to be?
Well, they're working on it. I know to tear that building down, it takes some resources with some big equipment, and in order to move that big equipment, they have to assure that the proper permits are in place to move the equipment on the road, and there's a little bit of a problem there. But we have a couple different companies come up. I think Luck Brothers is one of them, to assess the situation and see what they'll need for equipment, because this is a good sized building, so it'll take time.
I just saw two fellows walk in over there. I don't know if you were blocked by the tree, but would those be investigators? They came in off that ladder off the Russell's Point truck.
I was blocked by the tree, but yeah, there's state investigators. I think our county investigators are there as well.
There's a guy walking in right now. Okay, Chris Trombley has got to get to work here. He is on duty, and we appreciate him taking a few minutes to chat with us. But he has a job to do here, and he's going to get involved in that. And as I said earlier, if we have time, if time permits, we will try to get back here. And I think a lot of us have curiosity when a building like this comes down. And certainly no glee in it, but certainly a lot of curiosity. So if time permits, we will try to get here for that. And we appreciate Jason Juneau earlier and Chris Trombley right now for taking a few minutes out of what must have been a hectic morning for them. And they've been on the go. It's now 20 of 11. They've been on the go since shortly after 2. So they've put in a full 8.5 hours already. And they're a long ways from having their day completed.